What's up, everyone? My name is Aly, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. For our first episode of 2025, we welcomed Kiernan onto the show. Last year, the folk rock quartet released their debut EP, Magnetic North, a bundle of personal and story-like songs anchored by Laura Kiernan's voice. We talked about the music, the 1964 Alaska earthquake, pay equity, intentionality, and more. Without further ado, here's our interview with Laura Kiernan on the Ear Coffee Podcast. How's your day been going so far?
Cool. My day is good. Enjoying this kind of sunshine bout here in Minneapolis.
Yeah, it was supposed to have thunderstorms every day this week, but then we only had one, and it's actually been really nice the last couple days. So
yeah,
it's
great.
I hope we can both get outside at some point today.
Yes.
With pretty much anyone that I talk to, any musician or artist, I love kind of getting to the root of where their love of whatever their medium was. I love to get to the root of that, and often I find that starts when they were younger. Do you have any really clear formative memories of even just listening to music, of kind of getting the inkling that you wanted to play it, of the way I kind of phrase it is when it became yours, as opposed to just something that was just kind of in the world that you maybe knew about, and you heard the radio, you heard songs, but it wasn't really something you were conscious or connected to. And there may have been a point or a gradual period where that shifted and, started you on the path down to writing songs, recording, doing all the things that we're here to otherwise talk about.
Yeah. Thanks for asking this question. I think we all have a story like that. I think for me, my music kind of journey, see myself as a musician, kind of publicly didn't really start until I moved here kind of recently in the past couple of years. But growing up, I played classical piano.
Okay.
And I started playing classical piano when I was in third grade, when my parents hauled in a used piano to our house and was like, "You guys are going to take some lessons now." And
it was decided for you a little bit. That's I relate.
A little bit, but I think it was kind of I don't know. It was the class. My mom wasn't able to take music lessons when she was a kid, and that was something that she really wanted for her kids. And
yeah.
I and my dad as well. And I think for me, it became kind of a little bit of a sanctuary, the piano. It was once I started taking lessons, I just kind of became obsessed with sitting at the piano and every night and just kind of tinkering away. It was my area that I could express myself and not have to use any words.
Yeah.
And so I played piano for many years. I that kind of culminated in a senior recital my senior year of high school. And I played the class. I loved the romantics like Chopin and Debussy. And,
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my senior recital, I played Clair de Lune. How Can You Not? The Moonlight Sonata. The most. I that's my favorite classical song. And I think that in that process of playing kind of an instrument in a genre that felt very private and personal, like I said, I think I was a little bit embarrassed. I didn't think it was the cool thing to do as a kid. I played soccer growing up, and that was the thing that I did publicly. And honestly, not even my close friends would really hear me play piano. The senior recital was a big coming out moment. I'm a musician.
I've been a musician this whole time.
Yes. But in that process, throughout those years, it also really became something that this is me. I started writing little little chord songs on the piano when I was really young. Like I remember we would send videos to my aunt who was really interested in music when I was like probably like 8 or 9, and I would be like, hi Aunt Mary, like this is my new song. And I remember one because I was also like at that time obsessed with history and like American history particularly. I'm not anymore necessarily, but my first song that I wrote was called The American March, and it was like 2 chords of like dun 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 back and forth, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And in my head I like imagined playing it with like a big orchestra and stuff. I don't know, like kids do, like
just really creating this kind of world where you were the composer and the conductor, and you know, kind of projecting an imagined future, even if you know our lives take different turns that don't all lead us to conducting or like big band or like marching, like a marching band composing.
Yeah, no, it's like, child prodigy plays Carnegie Hall at 8 years old.
The new John Philip Sousa reborn, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be me with this 2-chord song.
That's great. That is also interesting just because it contrasts with like the just having this super personal and private connection with playing and beginning to kind of compose and kind of mess around with those ideas and kind of realize that that's something you can do, even if it, you know, is just 2 chords at the start. Contrasts with putting yourself out there with like a band and playing out and about or releasing music. So I'm curious, what were your first kind of forays into, I guess, more lyrically driven songwriting, more like kind of flipping the switch and deciding to really reveal that side of yourself beyond just, you know, the big senior recital and playing Claire de Lune, which was the coming out party, but then, you know, you keep going in some way, shape, and form. Even in, obviously, this isn't an EP of classical compositions we're talking about either. It's folk songs and like Americana. So there's a passing of genre interests as well, at least in this project, I suppose. So talk a little bit about kind of what led you to start moving in this direction, what kind of captured your passion for it and excited you about it.
I think a big turning point for me was when I got to high school. Junior year, I decided to join, or auditioned and decided to join the choir. And I went to a pretty artsy public high school in Madison, Wisconsin. And our choir teacher was just incredible. His name's Mr. Ko. And he really, number one, I mean, he in a lot of ways like taught me to sing, just like in those basic ways of like, this is how you do a vocal warm up, but also like, this is how you sing harmonies with other people. And that's, you know, I like my interest in choir like stemmed from, those moments on the piano where I started to like play like Stay With Me by, what was that, Rihanna or something? Anyways,
there's Stay and then there's Stay With Me, and they both came out like around the same time. But
the one that was like, I want you to stay.
Yeah, that's the Sam Smith one, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I loved playing that song on the piano, and I was like, wait, I can singing plus piano, like
it's hard.
This can happen. And I was kind of, I had friends doing choir, and anyways, entering into that world, Mr. Ko really just encouraged his students as well to like express themselves. And he like I had written this little song on the guitar. This was also around the time where I started learning the guitar. I found my dad when he was a kid, like he had like a little guitar that he never really picked up, but they kept it. and I found it in the attic, and I started playing that. And I all around that time I started writing more music, and I ended up bringing this song to Mr. Ko, my choir teacher, and he was like, let's perform this at our graduation. The song was called Young at Heart, and it was exactly like the title. Is like, goodbye childhood, like we are grown-ups now.
Yeah. Fitting for a graduation,
Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever performed something publicly that I had written, and I guess it really jumped from 0 to 10, because that we graduated at the Cole Center in Madison, like the big basketball and sports arena.
Okay.
And so there we were, like, singing this little song. It was kind of a blip though, because I really went back to playing sports after that. I didn't really have a band in high school or college. Besides, I played a little bit of piano in a very casual jazz band, but like nothing like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Until in the past couple of years.
Yeah. At least the first song I think that you've released or that I could find. And I do want to take a brief moment to talk about this before getting to the EP, since I think there's definitely some threads and through lines, is Genie, the song you wrote about the 1964 Alaska earthquake. Was that actually, like, on top of being inspired by her story and the event, I know it got like some New York Times buzz, or what, like not buzz, but like it got included in something. Was it actually inspired by the podcast episode? Because I remember listening to that when it came out, and that was certainly my introduction to Jeannie Chance's story.
Yeah, it was mine as well. Yeah. And it was. I listened to that podcast about Jeannie Chance, like, on a long car ride from Minneapolis to Madison. I think it was in really early 2021. And like when I got back to my house in Madison, like I just picked up a guitar, and that was really on my mind. And so it actually, I didn't pick up a guitar. I wrote it on the banjo.
Oh, cool.
And the guitar came later, because that was also right when I started playing the banjo. And so like the little lick with the banjo is like very simple, but that kind of melody for the chorus stemmed from me picking around on the banjo after listening to that podcast. And I don't know, like, I hate like, I think it sounds like cliche and like not also always true when like musicians are like, it just flowed out of me, like that, like, but it kind of did, like those lyrics just like I started like really kind of writing on the spot in that day, and the song was almost finished by that day after I listened to the podcast. And it took like many months to get it from there to actually like overcoming the psychological barriers of like, should I release this as like a artist, and then also like recording it and working with my friend Jared on the production and stuff. But yeah, it literally did stem from listening to that podcast and being like, this is interesting.
It's a fascinating story. So I despite the New York Times of it all, I encourage everyone to go at least look into the story.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I know. And like the article was like it was like the Daily Super Fan. I was like, I don't know if that's how
that's how it was built. I was like, I listened to the song. It's like it's not about like the Daily. It's about Jeannie. Like, hence, that little bit of they were kind of patting themselves on the back, like, oh, we look at this fan. And you're like, no, I'm just an artist. I'm just a songwriter. Like, thanks though. Literally. Like, I hope people like listen to it at least.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the main kind of connection I picked up on between specifically that song and the songs on Magnetic North, the new EP, are just kind of you seem very drawn into characters, into people, and writing about people, fictional or I guess maybe not always people, but at least like characters, and kind of building a little bit of a narrative around them to tell the story and kind of address and touch on the emotions and feelings that the song is conveying.
Yeah.
What draws you to a story or to an idea that makes you kind of want to write a song about it, whether it was something as kind of instantly captivating as the Alaska earthquake or some of the other songs? I think like Jimmy, and I think Angelise, is that the second one? I think.
Yeah, Angeline and All Over the Place. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
just
those are definitely all like kind of through line story songs.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
What draws you to a story when you and makes you want to start putting it to music?
I think that I just think one story sharing is a way to both like express my feelings in a way that can convey like both like fictional and non-fictional truths for myself. And I think, I mean, music like has been used, yeah, since the dawn of time to tell stories and to kind of, I don't know, I think that and to me that I find that to be like the way I'm most compelled by a song is if it's is something, and you know that's not true for everyone, but for me I think I really like value the like kind of specificity that songs can kind of bring of like specific names or places that like draw a listener in to like a narrative. And I think like with those, yeah, with those three songs in particular at the start of the EP, they all kind of have this narrative through line about like kind of, yeah, like having like romantic interest. I use the same name in all of those songs of Annie or Angeline, and like kind of, you know, having kind of like telling the story in different ways about you know, thinking about someone and crushing on someone or loving someone and like not quite being able to reach it, like in terms of like a place or time or embarrassment. And those are all things that I've experienced in my life too, but
Yeah.
like to be able to tell it in kind of a narrative way, like Jimmy, for example, I wrote when I was briefly living in Boulder, Colorado, and I was really enamored. I don't know, like I feel like I moved to Colorado and then I was like, whoa, country music can be good. And like I like, I don't know, there's something about like living in a specific place that really impacts like the kind of music that you write. And I, yeah, I kind of came up with the story in my head about like uh, a guy and his dog hitting the road and leaving someone behind that he loved and thinking about her. And I think that that way of thinking about that story like was also true to, you know, kind of some of my experiences at the time as well. But I kind of I put it into a narrative story form instead.
Yeah. I feel like anyone that didn't grow up with country music or just kind of any of those like kind of the associated sounds and genres will kind of have like a moment later, if later in life, if we are so fortunate where you listen to something or just hear something, or you're in a new place and you hear a country song and
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of have this like, oh wait, yeah, this is not something that I want to just like write off, or even just kind of be unaware of, even if it's not as deliberate. And then
Yeah.
it opens up a whole new world of so much, especially like story songs. That's just such a tradition
Exactly.
within Americana and country. Um, and I think, yeah, that's part of what you're bringing to the table with the EP. Um, when overall did the seeds of the EP kind of start to come together as an idea? Like, I want to put together these songs. These songs are all kind of coming out of me as like even just like lyrics and melodies. And what was the process to bring them into their finished forms, or at least their current forms, I guess, that we can listen to?
Yeah. I always joke with my band, like I have like so many songs that I poop out of myself, and some of them are good or some of them are bad, but my voice memos on my phone, I've got like, 1,500
Oh boy.
of like a lot of different ideas. And I always like, yeah, I mean, kind of true for how I grew up as well. Like music has always been a way that I can just like kind of wind down, express myself, etc. every day as a practice. Um, these particular songs span a couple years of writing. Um, I think, yeah, I think Jimmy was the one I wrote the oldest. I wrote that in 2021, around the time that Genie was released. And I was like, I can't have two songs called Genie and Jimmy. Like that is
Or it's
like,
it's like that's an A side B side single right there.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah. But at that time I wasn't playing with a band. And I was yeah, really just recording everything like by myself in my bedroom, and then also working with Jared Johnson, friend of mine. He's the guitarist in Kiernan, and also a really great sound engineer. And we recorded Fire, the next song that we released
Mm-hmm.
in his house, and did all the little like percussive stuff just by like clapping and stomping. But for this EP, I would say that it I'd always wanted to release an EP for a long time, but the kind of kick in the butt for it was when we were asked to open for the last Revel at the Fine Line in December of 2023, and we were kind of like, oh man, this is a big opportunity for the band, like a sold out Fine Line show. A lot of people maybe are going to be introduced to our music for the first time. Like we need to have more things going in the pipeline for them. And so we ended up kind of like turning quickly from like forming officially as a band. I mean, Nate started drumming with us only like a month or two before we started recording. And that kind of, it was very much like ad hoc and DIY, and like we recorded it all in Nate's attic with a lot of Jared's engineering and recording and production skills. And it basically, the whole EP was a little bit like, all right, these are like the songs that we know as a band. Let's do these ones, and like trying to put a through line there. We recorded a couple other songs during the recording process, but they just they didn't feel as tight as these ones did in the end. Which also, again, makes sense. We had really just started playing with each other fairly
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. How did that process of going from being just kind of your own songwriter, working kind of closely with Jared, more as an engineer, it sounds like, maybe not as much as
Yeah.
a musician. He later, lends guitar to the quartet. It is a
Yeah.
4-piece.
It is, yeah.
Okay, cool. Want to make sure I got that right. Yeah, what was that? It was kind of, very spur of the moment. It sounds like just kind of like the band kind of came together, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we should learn these songs. We should do this. And it's a very relatable kind of necessity. It's like, oh, people are going to be coming to the show or seeing us, and they want to like know what we are, and we should probably do something to give them to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, what was the transition from being kind of like a solo songwriter project, having just kind of that more like kind of bedroom solitude, like you said, to bringing it together with a band, playing the Fine Line, playing elsewhere, and expanding so much musically as well as because like obviously when there's more people, you can play more instruments at the same time. It's
Totally.
hard. I'm sure you can't really play. It's hard enough to sing and play guitar at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I would say I was very grateful for that transition. I mean, it's been a dream of mine since I was a kid, like imagining all of those songs in my head on the piano to like get to play in a band and play with other people. I mean, like I really idolize, like, like the School of Rock, like kind of genre of fit, like that movie, and like High School Musical, and like oh, what was that other Disney movie with like Demi Lovato?
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock. Yes.
I've never seen it. I don't know why I knew that so quickly, but I think it's Camp Rock.
Yeah, you really had that on the top of the dome.
I know a lot of people that love that movie, despite my minimal awareness of it. It's like there's a movie with the Jonas Brothers and like some chanting and some songs, and that's about all I know.
Yes. Very memeable now. Yeah, I mean, like I like as a kid, like I consumed those media, and I was like, oh my god, it'd be so cool like one day. But no, that like it didn't feel accessible to me. I felt like that was something that only like the cool kids did. And I also had like I felt very vulnerable and a lot of fears of like, oh man, like no one's gonna want to play this stuff that I wrote. Like I felt like it was easier and better to just try to do it all myself. But like what a joy it has been. I mean, I'd say that like the forming of the band was pretty like I guess intentional on my part, because I mean, I graduated college in 2020 and was supposed to then go to Senegal on a Fulbright to teach English. And that ended up not happening for a year and a half due to the pandemic. And so in that time, that was also the time where I started writing music more. I think like graduating college for me was a lot of sports. I played soccer and ultimate frisbee pretty competitively, and I just didn't have time to devote to like being in a band in college or trying to do that more. And when I graduated, I kind of was like, this is I really want to do this. Like I want to try. And so that was me releasing that first song, Genie. And then I ended up actually going to Senegal and living there for a year. And when I was deciding what I wanted to do next, it was kind of like a big aha moment for me that I was like, it has been a dream of yours for so long to like really try to do it with music, to like be more public about it and like try to play more shows live, etc. Like this is the time in your life to do it. And I when I moved back to Minneapolis, that's when I really started pursuing trying to form a band and playing more shows live. Our first show, my first show playing with the band was in June 2023. We played at my best friend's house. It was a backyard concert, and it was really, really fun.
Yeah, that's always a great kind of, I feel like, classic like DIY start. If I don't think it's limited to Minneapolis, but having talked to so many Minneapolis folks, it feels like that's a lovely connection. It's like just do it in the backyard. You don't have to book anything. You don't have to ID anybody. You don't really have to.
Yeah.
It's very.
I still love house shows, playing house shows. That's like my favorite.
I'm glad. The charm is worn off for me, but that's just because I think I'm getting old and bitter. But it's just like I'm like 6 years older than everyone here. This feels weird. But the spirit of it is so beautiful, whether it's in a backyard or in a basement. Just because it's you're doing everything yourself. You don't need all the infrastructure that a kind of traditional venue offers, though. That's just a completely different experience. It has its merits, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I just came off of a little run playing some house shows solo, and I think as musicians we're always searching for that like really, really like spiritual and magical moment where you are so like locked in with the people listening, and just like knowing like they are really listening to me, and like we are having this experience together. And I feel like some of the times that I've had that the most is like in smaller settings and house shows where like you're right with the people you're playing to and with.
Yeah, those are definitely the kind of best kind of, I'm sure, as both as a songwriter, but even as an audience member. Whereas like, I don't know, my when I tend to think of like house shows, it's the more stereotype for a lot of bands here. It's like, since everyone's in a punk band, it's just like a bunch of like drunk 22-year-olds kind of throwing themselves around and having a great Friday. You're like, that rocks.
Oh yeah. And
I'm not going to begrudge them that. Yeah. That's just like a different kind of house show, a different kind of experience, a different kind of transcendence, maybe.
Yeah. No, the genre that I'm in doesn't lend myself to that kind of house show. Yeah, you're totally right though. House shows are definitely like punk at heart.
Yeah. And I think, they're punk at heart, but that doesn't box in the genre of music or the types of songs you have to write or play in order to do it. It's just about, It's very literal. It's a show that's in a house. Doesn't even matter what room it's in. It's just a show at a house.
You can play it in a bathroom.
We've thought about doing that for like a filmed thing, just kind of for the almost like absurdity of it, but it's probably not a good idea. We won't go into that. With now, I guess with the EP being out, with the band version of Kiernan existing for about a year now, what have been some of the, I guess, other like highlights and like things that have really hopefully fortified your love of doing this, the desire to keep doing this? Because putting an EP out is a huge thing. Putting out any music is always like kind of, you mentioned like overcoming that fear and that vulnerability. But yeah, what has kind of emboldened you throughout this year of giving it the old post-college try, I guess?
Yeah, the old post-college try. I think two things come to mind for me, or three things. The first is, I think the biggest highlight was our release show at 7th Street in the middle of June. That was beyond special. I mean, I just it was such a beautiful night, and I will always cherish it. And just so much gratitude for everyone that shared the space with us. It was a very big experience for me to like go start to finish. Like, obviously like writing the songs for the EP, recording that, all of that, but then like planning and promoting the show and getting artists to play it with me. And yeah, I mean, promotion is no joke for musicians. I mean,
it's a little bit of a hell. Yeah.
It is a little bit of a hell. And I really, really wanted the show to be a success. I can't count the amount of people I sent a text to that was like, hey, got a release show. I saw a TikTok last night that was like another like indie band, like being like, this is what it's like, try to getting people to go to shows, and it's just like them like making like prayer hands and like like you know, like baby faces like, please come to my show.
Yeah.
That's, you know, you kind of just, yeah, we
Yeah,
just have,
local or on tour, it's just you'll kind of take what you can get and go do whatever you can to hopefully get folks to come and check out the songs, check out the bands.
yeah, totally, yeah. And so I think it was, yeah, it was stressful, like that time planning that. But then the night itself, I mean, Fruit Form, Hazel Creek, and Valu's all supported us, and each brought like such beauty to the space, in very different ways. Like they each had, you know, a very distinct sound that wasn't that had a through line, but also like Fruit Form is a lot more punk than Valu's is a lot more folk and stuff like that, to kind of be able to share that night with so many like artists that I look up to, not only like playing but also just in the audience. And I just, it was my first time like headlining something, and to kind of look out into the crowd and see so many faces that I know, like seeing one of my best friends like very front and center, like with her mom, like singing the words to the song. I was like, this is so special. To just share this with everyone. It was just a really, really special night. And I feel really proud of that. And I think another like big highlight for me as a musician, like, and like kind of meeting, like another joy has been just meeting more musicians here in Minneapolis. Like the community is so great and expansive, and I am a leader in Twin Cities United Performers Teacup.
Yeah.
Which is a group of musicians fighting for our long-term goal is to make Minnesota the best place to live and be a musician and work and be a musician. And you know, right now we're focused on pay equity and safety and accessibility, and that this experience of being a part of this group has both just been so enriching, like community wise, to get to meet musicians from all different genres, and also very uplifting, as just like a space where we can support each other, and like, you know, I don't know, there's like a lot of reasons why musicians in this economy are getting the short end of the stick, and to be able to be in a space where you can just like both unleash like the frustrations and also be like in solidarity and like moving and building power together is really special.
Yeah, no, massive shout out to what y'all are doing. And you know, it's part of it's just like getting organized. It's crazy how that helps and how that works. Just bring people together,
yeah.
And create a force fighting for and working for the things that all of us as musicians or creatives like want and need to, you know, keep doing our things, like keep on making things and playing shows or doing anything like that. Yeah. Cool. As we kind of wrap up, I like starting and ending interviews with very similar questions, or with the same questions for kind of everybody. Thinking just about your overall like work as an artist, everything whether it's like songwriting, playing piano when you were younger, what's something that you've grown or found yourself loving about your own art, your own creative process? like something that you know you can bring to the table, whether it's your own song or someone else's, or just something that you've really grown to appreciate, if not outright love, about yourself?
Whoa, what a great question. Um, I should have known that like this like coming on to Ear Coffee and the podcast would mean talking about myself a lot. And that is
That's the
uncomfortable
weirdest thing
for
about
me.
doing interviews. Like, oh yeah, no, you're asking about my stuff. What? No,
Yeah, no. Can I talk about someone else?
please.
um, okay. For myself and like something that I appreciate about my music. Well, I guess a lot of the songs I bring, you know, I, I'm using like, on a whole, generally pretty simple chords. Like they might be 3, 4, 5 chord songs. And I like to me, like the motion behind how the music is played is what really, really grabs both me as a listener and as an artist. And I think something that I bring to the music that I write and perform is a lot of intentionality behind like, yeah, my emotions that I'm sharing. Like I really try to like express myself through my voice and through the notes that I play. I mean that goes back to like, yeah, when I started learning piano, and like when you play a note louder, it gives a different emotion than if you play it really quietly. And sometimes when you play a really loud note and then you play a really quiet note afterwards, it like even has even more emotional effect, and kind of like that dynamic nuance and the way that I can like sing a word to try to bring out the emotion behind it. That is like that is my intention as a performer, is to even if the song itself is 4 chords, like to just like bring a lot of intention behind every note that is played in it. And I like look up to like many artists that also do that, and to yeah, even like the stories that we sing, like that grabs people in when it makes them think about like stories in their own lives as well. And to me, yeah, it really boils down to this emotion that we're trying to share. So
yeah,
I don't know, and I guess maybe
it's
I don't know if
definitely
that's
something
like
that's
too
kind of
broad of an
nebulous and
answer.
hard to articulate. Like,
Yeah, and
like,
as our first band poster that we made for this backyard show that we had last year, my friend was like, you should put on there bisexual icon, the official stop for the beginning of Pride 2023. And so, that's another thing I bring as an artist. I'm like openly, queer and ready to talk about it.
yeah.
But that's old news in Minneapolis. Everyone's gay these days.
Yeah. all the kids are gay these days, and I think we're all the better for it. But as two queer people, I think we're a little biased.
Yeah, true.
Cool. The last question I always like to ask folks is, we've talked a bit about just how expansive and various this community is here in Minnesota, and even just in Minneapolis, St. Paul specifically, and how many different and cool artists and bands there are. So if you, now's kind of the time to, we call it our recommendation or our shout out corner. Just some bands or artists that you want to draw attention to, that you love, whether you've played with them, just are a fan. It can be, it feels a bit intimidating since the list could kind of just go on and on and on. We've had at least one band prep the list of bands to shout out before the interview, which was so kind of strange but funny to me. Because usually we're just kind of putting you on the spot. But yeah, just kind of an opportunity to spread the love, shout out some friends or bands you're excited about, and hopefully turn the listeners on to something new.
Oh yeah, okay, totally. Well, this is straight. Full disclosure, I did not prepare this ahead of time, so these are my raw thoughts.
Yeah, we have to get the caveat now. It's like, no, this was not prepared. This was not typed out.
Yeah. Speaking of like gay stuff, I played at the Bat Cave for their Pride event at the end of June, and I just like want to shout out all of those. I mean, like Zora, such an amazing performance. Like I was just blown away. I hadn't listened to a lot of her stuff ahead of time, and like now I'm such a huge fan, and like I have Hush on repeat, like on my Spotify. Like just huge shout out to Zora and everything that she's doing. And Sim 1, I was also there, and I saw Sim 1 first at the Green Room during our Teacup was doing a solidarity event with United Musicians and Workers, and just Sim 1 had backup dancers and was just bringing such cool hyper pop energy. Like I was just like, this is an amazing artist, and just like huge fan of everything they're doing. 26 Bats,
legends,
also like, great. I mean, yeah,
all of these artists are incredible.
Yes, I just like huge fan. I think I don't know. Dante from Space Monkey Mafia has been organizing with Teacup, and I am just blown away by his vocal range. Like he's been posting a lot of videos recently of them doing covers of other bands, and man, like he can sing and play the sax. So yeah, shout out Space Monkey Mafia. I want to shout out everyone. I think Alex of Yellow Ostrich has like such amazing and beautiful like and soft music that he's like given to now Minneapolis, and just have, and Peter from We Are the Willows is a neighbor of mine.
Oh, fun.
And overall very sweet human. So shout out We Are the Willows. Man, this list I could go on forever.
That's the double-edged sword of this question. We live in a city where almost anyone that we talk to could just go on forever, because there's so many cool bands just to listen to that you get to see at DIY shows or wherever.
And they're my friends too.
Yeah.
Like I love them as humans. My friend Andy, her band Lake Davi is awesome. Like more like kind of country stuff. We played a show with them in May. That was so fun. We did the cover of Red Wine Supernova by Chapel Roan, but made a country, which I know everyone's doing now, making Chapel Roan country, but it was so fun to play a little banjo.
It's fun. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, another caveat, that's a non-comprehensive list, but definitely gives a good start. Check out all those artists if you haven't heard them before, and even if you have, go see if there's something new you might want to listen to or revisit.
Non-comprehensive.
Non-comprehensive. It'll never be comprehensive unless we're here all day, and that's a good problem to have. So just kind of wrap things up. What's the easiest way to find and support Kiernan? I know the EP is available everywhere. It's on Bandcamp. But what are the best ways? Like, what do you have coming up that you want to? Well, I guess maybe not as much that. I don't know when this episode's coming out. But just what's the easiest way to find and support your music, support the band, and check out the new EP and stay tuned for what's coming next.
Yeah. So, depending on when you are listening to this episode, we have a show at the end of August 31st, at the Turf Club. We're excited about that. So if you are listening ahead of that, would love to see you there. I think the best way to follow kind of what we're doing is just on Instagram, which is at Kiernan_the band. I try to post, show updates and release updates on there. I'm in the middle of, we're working on a website now, but that's not ready yet. So I would say Instagram is still the best way. And yeah, all the streaming platforms, Spotify and Apple Music. My friend Andy recently told me that the title for Kiernan, like the streaming title, is mixed with I think a Russian band that's also called Kiernan or something.
I think I might have seen that, but it's so strange when that happens.
Fix that. I don't use titles, so I didn't know. But that we are on Tidal, but you might also get a couple other bands mixed in there, a genre diverse.
Yeah. A real exploratory listen. You'll get the joyous Americana of the new EP, as well as some Russian something or other.
Yes, I don't even know.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning, Laura, to talk about the new EP. Again, it's available everywhere. It's called Magnetic North. Appreciate you taking time.
Thanks so much, Aly. It's been a pleasure talking. I'm really humbled to get to speak about this.
You have been listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and share so you can stand out against the sea of other music podcasts. You can find information and other important links in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support us, please consider subscribing on Patreon for early access to live sessions and other bonus content. You can also subscribe to our Substack for a regular newsletter with reviews, ramblings, and anything else we have to say. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.